Hi everyone, it's Ann Hoffman. I'm going to show you one of the tools in the business edition. It's called Warp, and there's actually two tools. I'm only going to show one in this video. I'm sort of reluctant to show the easy way to do it because I'm afraid that you all will not be interested in the manual way to do it, and that could um, really create a loss of a really exciting way to do things using this tool. Once you learn the easy or the lazy way, as I call it, you probably aren't going to want to learn it manually. And the difference between the two is taking, say, this apple that is flat, and manually you would be able to, I guess, puff it out, pull it out as if it's almost like 3D on the page or on the shirt. But it requires, a few extra steps. But anyway, let me go ahead and show you this just for the sake of time. The warp tool. And I'm just going to use my name. And of course, as with everything, fonts matter. Spelling my name should matter. Oh boy, I've gotten enough sleep. I don't know. Those 5 o'clock, waking up at 4 a.m. just doesn't do it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to impact. Get a thicker font. Just sort of helps things out. And you can do this with or without color. Of course, you all know I love color, so I'm going to give it some color, and I want to color my lines as well. Okay, now I have it. So I'll start with this. Of course, you have to trace, the banner or the object that you want and size it the size that you want it to be. This is really a good size. I'll just make it a little bit bigger. I don't know if I would want my name on a shirt that big, maybe for a family reunion. And so the next thing that you want to do is kind of line your word or phrase up against the edge. And I'm going to hold the shift key down and just drag this out a little because I'm trying to get it all the way across and I'm going to have to move this up a little bit without overlapping it, just trying to get it halfway in place. It's sort of something that you eyeball where it is, because I won't get to this little sharp point, but I want it to get the letter N as close over there as I possibly could. So once you have your word, you've eyeballed kind of where you want it to be. The goal here is once I'm done using the warp tool, I'm going to get rid of this banner, and my name is going to be in the shape, excuse me, the shape of this banner. So let me just close out my color thing here and shrink these other distractions out of my way. Okay, so now I'll open up the warp tool. Now I have a larger screen on my laptop, so you might have an arrow down at the bottom. You need to click on it, and it will expand the remaining icons out to the left or maybe further in the bottom. But since my screen is large, I can just click on the warp panel. And this is the one that we're going to use, and it defaults to it anyway. So I'm going to click on my name, and I'm going to click on Warp Selected Shapes. And this is the grid that goes over it. Now I want to zoom in so you can see what is going on. That's a bit too much. So that'll work. So now I have my word, across the banner somewhat where I want it to be. The orange squares are the directional, I would love to say arrows, but they aren't. But those are the ones that you use to pull it in the direction. So I'm going to click on it and drag I'm just dragging this H until I can get it all the way near that red line as I can. On that side, I'm going to grab this one and pull my H all the way down to my next one. There's tools to come back and perfect all of this later. Let me scroll down a little bit. And for here, I'm going to pull this over a little bit, trying to get my N as close over here. Oh, I forgot to pull this one. This one here to get it over as close to that point as I can with it. And what this does, this tool is a shortcut to point editing, which is what you would have done before they created this tool. Typed your word, but you would have been going to point editing and manually doing all of this. Well, this does it for you. So remember what these four orange boxes will do. The next thing is, if you notice on the green lines, they have these little handles. So if I turn it in, it raises it up. I'm going to bring it down some there. I'm going to grab this little handle and bring the rest of these down a little bit more so they touch the line. Then you have more handles over here, which I'm going to bring that in up some. And then you see I also have handles here where you can continue to maneuver it. Here's a handle. And eventually you have to play around with this in order to get it, because it's an eyeball thing of where you want to be with it. And I'm going to go down a little bit because, see, I have this handle. So all these handles work to really help you in bringing things up. In addition to that, I've made my word blue, and I shouldn't have, but I hope you can see the little black things inside. Those are more handles for these lines across the blue line. So I shouldn't have made it. But this helps to move them up and around as well. There's like handles, and I move. There are handles for almost every little part of your word. One set, two, three, four handles, five, six, seven. So handles are what helps you to move and maneuver things around to where you want them to be. So and for this one here, I want to, my word, I want to bring it up a little bit more. So I'm going to have to get probably this handle here. It down, and I guess pull this up a little more to the side here, and then use the handle to kind of bring them underneath the line. That's just, again, something. Playing with these handles is what's going to make a world of difference. Once it looks the way you want it to, all you have to do is say release warp. And it does it for you, but as you can tell, everything is ungrouped in here. So while it's still like that, right click on it and group. And then all you have to do is take the shape that you had and move it out of the way. So let me zoom back out, and we'll move that one over to the side. Right click on it. I always convert it to a path. And there you go. So now I have this in the shape of a flag, in this shape. So now we'll do this one here, and I'll go back and of course, when you have this much space, coming up with 3 letters, no, you're not going to be able to complete it and make it look like it's anything. So keep that in mind as well. If you've got a big space, you need to fill it with more letters in it for it to work. These little shorter spaces, yes, you're okay. But don't try to put 4 letters on all of this space, because it's not, and your customer is not going to be happy. So I'm going to try this way, and I'm not going to change my font. I'm going to go with Arial, even though it's like a skinny one to do. But I am going to change my color, and maybe I'll do gold so that these other handles will show through for you. My own color, yes. So I have gold. So now let me just zoom back in so you can see what's going on. I've traced this already. It's the size that I want it to be. So I'm just trying to put this halfway. Of course, you know it isn't going to fit up there until I start to manipulate it, but at least half of it, I have it somewhat center, I think is the best way to go to be able to get more of your pull. So I'll just make this a little bit, well, I guess I have to. I'll take that back. You have to make sure that your word is inside of the shape at some point, and then you can start your manipulation. So I think it's all in here now. So I will go back to the warp panel, and I want to warp that shape. And again, these handles here is what pulls it out in that direction. So I'm going to have a time with this until I get it all finagled out like where I want it to go. And I'll push this up to get it into locked into there. But I want that end to be down at that shape. And again, this whole warp tool, you can use it for so many different things. But I'm basically trying to, I guess, make this shape become my name. And so I've got my handles, my 4 directions where I want them to go. So at this point now, it's starting to play around with these different handles to move things move things around. So here, and I'm just pulling this so that my letters begin to come down. You notice there's one right here for the F. So when I move it, it's moving it up or down. Oh, come on, come back, come back. Grabbing that handle. So it's just trying to figure out where your handles are at so you know what you're working with. And almost with all of them, you can, let me see what this one does. Clicking off of it. That brings that one, those in. Actually, this one, I think on this side that I'm playing with is more for half of the letter, and this is the one here that I need to be moving to bring those in. And so that's where coming, to play around with it a little. And let's use this one now. I'm pulling it up to pull it up. I'm going to the left. That brings it over to the left. I have a little handle here. That's my up and down for the letter N. That's there. I have this little handle here, and you see what's going on with it. If I pull it up, that's where the letter N is going to go. So this is all in how the warp tool takes place. You have the green line is for the top and the bottom, and then you have these blue in here that covers sort of the center of it. I don't think I have done much with this one here with M. So bring M and A up to the top. And it looks like, obviously, you can tell it went out of the line, but I'm going to take this top one for the green and grab that handle and start pulling some of the letters back down underneath the line. So it's just, again, when it comes to this tool, it's not something that you're going to get in a quick amount of time. So just understand that. Silhouettes tools certainly are not built for speed. built more for, I guess, the designer accuracy. And I see a handle here. I don't know what this one does yet. Okay. So I'm going to say that, well, I could have done a little bit more with this one. And I don't remember. Over here is divisions and columns. So if you don't think that you have enough columns or enough rows, I can add more, which is going to, and it starts back over, and it's going to give me more handles. You see, I have more handles in there now to pull and manipulate. You see, I have handles just for the letter A, but I'm going to go back to, hopefully it takes me back to there, and I'm just going to say release the warp, right click, group. So I have this in here. I can go back now and release compound path. And why, oh, why did I do it that way? I don't know, but let's see if I can just grab this part out. I was hoping that this whole thing separated so that way I would have had my name in it. But that's what you would do as far as trying to replace the object with the shape of whatever your word or your phrase is. This um, the other tool that is in there is, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I will come back to it. And I'm hoping that, you know, some of you will be able to um, spend the money to upgrade to business so you can take advantage of this as well. But the other tool inside of the warp um, tool is the conical warp. That's when you have cups that you're trying to put stuff on and you're having a difficult time because it, you know, the vinyl is flat, you're cutting it flat and you're trying to put it on a round surface and it starts to wrinkle on you. This looks intimidating, but it really isn't. But there's a few little steps you have to do beforehand. You need to know, get your measuring tape and measure your cup across the top. That's what that little arrow is. You're going to tell it how wide it is across the top, what the height of it is, and then you need to measure the bottom. So I'm just going to make up a cup at this point. I'm going to go back to, let me trace this apple. Use this direction key here. Okay, that's good. So trace my apple now and color it in. And so now I have my apple that I want to put on this cup. Excuse me. So I'll go back to the conical warp and I'm going to tell it, oh, I need to click conical warp selected shape. This is my selected shape. It can be a shape as they call it, which is an object, or it can be word as a shape as far as it's concerned. So I'm going to click on it and you see it gives me sort of like, I guess a template per se. Hold on, let me move that out of the way. Go back here and I'll move that to here. And so it's basically saying this is how we're starting out with this. Now I need to know from you, Anne, what's the width across your cup? What's the height of your cup? So I'm going to say that, well, it's saying 6.5 inches or whatever. So if I left it at that, this slider here or typing in the actual number is pointing, is showing you across the top. You see the little red arrow going left and right, and then you see it at the bottom, and then the bottom, and you know it just shows you That's what the top three do. This one here, this gives you the width, or in making it bigger, your object bigger. But you don't want your object to be bigger than your the template frame that's around it. This here, and let me make it a little bit smaller. So if we say that this is the size that you cut your apple, 4.6 inches by 3.1 inch. But when we open it up, it put it way down here at the bottom, and you want it at the top. That's what this slider does. This brings it moves it, because you don't move it, because it's already decided, the what it thinks is the perfect place for it to be. So if we say that this is where it is, there's a bit of curvature to it. If I change this to say that the top is 4.50, you can look at this, it changes, and this changes, and you notice my apple got a little skinnier when I did that. And if I say, I leave the bottom where it is, and I say that this is 8.75, you can watch the cup, because it's basically, your cup should look like the cup in the screen here. And so it's saying now, to get the best part of the curve, this is where your decal needs to be positioned. If that's not where you want it to be positioned, that's fine. You can adjust it here. And I think as you adjust here, it adjusts. We wanted it more to the top. It really didn't change the numbers, but sometimes it will make a difference in the number there. So this one at the bottom goes up and down. This one here makes it bigger, your decal bigger, and it determines where the curvature goes. You may not necessarily see it, but when you get ready to cut it out, this is not going to cut. This, your shape is the only thing that is going to cut. And it automatically has somewhat of a curve going on in it. So if you have the right dimensions put in your first three, the width across the opening of your cup, the bottom of your cup, and the height of your cup, it's going to determine it, where it needs to go. And again, be careful with the size down here, because if your object goes outside of this template, you know it's not going to curve properly on your cup. So with that being said, the only thing you have to do now is just click apply. And now this one is set, is ready to print, and it's going to fit perfectly on the cup that I gave those dimensions to. So that's what these two features are to really help you out. This will make a big difference in things, because when we're new and starting out, we want our decals to be really big, and the curvature just is not going to be there as the glass goes from being bigger to shrinking to being smaller. But anyway, that's what this tool is. The Conical Warm is for cups, and it can also be for words as well. If you were putting a word on a cup, you get rid of this. If I was doing my cup like this, of course, I would center my name. I'm going to say impact, but it could, whatever you want to use with it. And I say, this is it, and I've measured it out, and this is what I want my dimensions of my name to be. And I want to put it on a cup. I doubt I can get 7 inches across on a cup. But anyway, This is probably more realistic. So I say conical warp, the selected shape. And again, it has its standard sizes in here. And I would go in and change it. And I don't know if you can tell it or not, but my N is like turned a little bit. My H is turned a little bit. The U is turned a little bit. F and M looks okay. I think even the A is pulled down this way a little bit. That means it's warping it to be able to wrap better. So if I say, okay, well, this is fine, I hit apply with it. I'm going to, I can group it, make a compound path. It doesn't matter. And then you cut it out because it doesn't matter what color you put here. I cut it on my vinyl. This is all ready to go for the size, the dimension that I gave that cup on it. So this is a really good tool to kind of help out. You just have to watch how things go. And again, you see where the slant come in at. You and I would never have figured that out. We probably would have thrown the whole case of glasses out by then. But it doesn't look like, yeah, it looks like it did a little bit with the letter A up here, and maybe the letter E might be turned in a little, but that's the conical warp. And you've already seen what happens with the warp selected shape. Just come by, and it just defaults to this. It has 3 divisions on it. But it only has a 1 row, and you just add more. If you want more handles to be able to control just the letter N, these N, just to control each letter separately, just keep adding more to it, and that's what it's doing. And more rows to go across it. This will really give you a lot of control. Not that you are going to use all of them, but it will give you more control. If you add another row, we'll be able to control how Anne is warped and how Huffman is warped on it. So I'm going to end it at this point. I will come back and revisit it. I would ask that before you start asking me questions about it, you play around with it yourself, and when you get stumped with something, then let me know, hopefully with a video clip, and I'll go in and play with it. I don't use this a lot, but I am going to start using it more just because I need to work smarter and not harder. So anyway, I'm going to end this tutorial on these 2 tools.